This channel is supported by Fire. Fire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I did a video about hollow bodies the other day because I'd got a chance to sort of do a little bit of a comparison between Jake's kind of parts caster, hollow body Telecaster, and my own parts caster Telecaster, which is obviously solid body. And I kind of didn't really think there was a huge kind of tonal benefit, although thinking about it more, you know, if the guitar sounds basically as good but is considerably lighter, I think for a lot of us that might be a benefit anyway. I think the solid telly maybe had a bit more kind of snap to it, a bit more brightness, and yeah. But in any case, I think a lot of that might have been down to pickups. I also have a Sire, you know, it's their version of the ES335. This is the Larry Carlton thing. And I kind of brought this up in it, and I thought, well, this is more or less pretty similar, except, you know, playing wise it's not super similar to playing a Les Paul and, you know, sort of sitting with it and playing it, but tonally, who's Tony, a lot of them certainly back in the day would have had the same pickups, I think, more or less. You know, they just pulled them out of the humbucker bin, and for a long time ES335s have really had the same pickups in them as the Les Paul. And when you think probably, you know, that's a majority of the sound coming from a guitar probably is more to do with the pickup placement and pickup height and, you know, whether that's got the same stuff, rather than having these kind of hollow bits of stuff which are sort of stuck to a center block. Kind of, yeah. It's not the most resonant thing. There's a center block going down here. Of course, you've got nowhere near as much mass as a Les Paul, and less mahogany in this as well, obviously. But a few people in the comments said, well, you need to be playing with a bit more gain or more volume to really get what the ES335 is about. So I decided I'd try that, and I was using the Mesa Boogie Nomad 45. Now, this is not quite at bedroom volumes, but not at gig volumes either. Somewhere between that, sort of like maybe shouting at home volumes, you know, the sort of thing that you'd see when a bloke comes home drunk. Anyway, so not bedroom friendly, but you know, not crazy loud either. And what I was finding was that with this guitar, you could very much do that sort of, you know, the thing where you're playing on stage. If you've got an amp really loud and you move to certain places, you get certain different harmonics. Now, there are guitarists like Gary Moore, Steve Vai that have played around with this with solid bodies, but I think you have to have considerably more volume. I tried my other guitars to do this sort of thing, and they couldn't really do it. The one that sort of got close was the K-Line Jazzmaster, because that's got unpotted pickups that can sort of start to do it a little bit. But the ES335, in that scenario, I think I get now what people are saying. It feels then like, because it can suddenly burst into this very musical feedback, that you've got this kind of more lively thing. And I think an ES335 makes a bit more sense to me in that circumstance then. It could be a problem, I guess, if with that much gain live. I guess if it's doing it at that kind of bedroom volume, you'd probably have to bring the gain down as volumes go up. Potentially even with an ES335, you could have some problematic feedback, I guess. I've played a Casino of Gary's as well, Gary from 60s tribute band down the road. That's fully hollow, and that would be even more so be the problem. And the ES165 that I have, the Herb Ellis signature, even clean tones, as you start to increase the volumes, like gigging levels, it's really, really, really hard to control the feedback on this. So the ES335, I think, is in a bit of that sweet spot. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try this with the Hollow Telly. I wonder if this would do something similar or not. Let me know your thoughts on that if you've got them. But is this what people like about the ES335? I think aside from this thing, it's pretty much got a lot of the tonal qualities that a Les Paul has, really. But you do get that really lively feeling when you're playing it. It's kind of addictive and kind of like, well, this, each time I play these notes, there's some extra life that's blooming on top of them. I guess that's got to be what people like about it, right? And you can hear some of this in sort of some of Larry Carlton's stuff, where, you know, notes can suddenly sort of change and morph into these, you know, fifth or octave harmonics, and it's a really, really lovely thing, particularly if you play a chord and then the overtones start to ring out from it. That's not a bright tone either. That's quite a soft, warm, plenty of gain, but quite a warm, dark tone, and it was happening with that. I remember gigging with Gary live. He used to use an AC30 live with his hollow body Casino. It, depending on, sometimes, because he would boost it with Blues Driver, that would sometimes create some feedback issues, which were a little bit hard to control with that one. So he used to generally gig with the Jazzmaster instead, or the Jaguar, the Kurt Cobain signature, because that Casino was just too lively for this sort of thing. But I think an ES335 now, to me, I kind of get it. And normally, I think gain can sort of mask the character of guitars, whereas with this thing, gain seems to actually show you a bit more, you know, where the differences lie, because it's starting to pick up on the resonances that are sort of there in the guitar, you know, these pockets of resonance that kind of just sit to the side of the main tone generator that can then kind of sympathetically ring in feedback with your amp. Yeah, I get it a bit more now. So if that's happening with this Sire, by the way, which has, I guess, a poly finish, not necessarily the most resonant thing ever, I guess the posher ES335s would do this to a larger extent. Also, a weird thing about the Murphy Lab ES335s, those are cheaper than the Murphy Lab Les Pauls, when we know from Gibson it actually takes longer to make an ES335. So that's quite an interesting one, because you have binding on two sides. That's one of the key things that makes an ES335 take longer, because you've got to glue both sides on and do all that binding stuff. Twice the binding scraping, which is apparently one of their more skilled jobs that they have to train for. So kind of interesting. Yeah, maybe the ES335, I need to have another really a bit of a think about. I'd love to try gigging this live and see what that experience is like, to be honest. I feel like, actually, people say like a Les Paul is a grown-up's guitar. I do feel like the ES335, I can see, you know, it's kind of not as easy to play, you know, a bit bulky on the body, but I can see it's got a real charm to it, and I think this is kind of more the grown-up's guitar even than a Les Paul. It's kind of quite a versatile gigging machine. You can play jazz on it, you can play rock on it, you can play Blink 182 on it, basically. You know, I don't know, let me know your favourite ES335 players in the comments if you would, so I can have a little look and listen, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Here's some more playing. I was really enjoying jamming with that.
Thank you.